How's it going guys, Llyan here and welcome to our very first SketchUp tutorial. So for those of you who don't know, SketchUp is a 3D modeling software that you could use for architectural works, engineering works, interior works, and your hot dog. Because you know SketchUp and that joke sucked, so sorry. Anyways, in this video we'll be talking about the top 5 most useful SketchUp plugins that I often use. First off, what are SketchUp plugins? Plugins are basically like apps that you download and install into your SketchUp program. Okay, so these plugins are used to make your modeling life easier and faster. No, 3D modeling, not modeling. So Llyan, where do I get these plugins, you ask? You could go to extensions.sketchup.com, where there are currently 666 extensions available. That's a little demony. Anyways, here in this website you could find a ton of plugins, but for this specific video that we are doing, we are only going to tackle 5 of those plugins. Well, 5 of my favorite plugins, that is. Okay, moving on to the first plugin. This first plugin is called Zorro. And as the name implies, this plugin is used to cut section cuts in your model. First thing we gotta do is download the plugin. Okay, now that you have downloaded it, go to your SketchUp program, click on Window tab, and then look for Preferences. Now click that, a little tiny window will open. Look for the Extension tab. Okay, on the bottom left corner of the window, click Install Installation. Just locate your plugin file, click on that, and then click Open, and then install it. And then just accept anything that it says, you know, the usual stuff. Then click OK. Okay, now you should be able to see the Zorro plugin in your extensions. Okay, so here's how to use Zorro. Click on Tools, click on Section Plane, and then place a section plane on your model. Okay, let's drag that a little bit there. Okay, now that we have our section plane in place, right click the section plane and click Slice Model Add Section. Okay, depending on the size of your model and the specs of your computer, this whole process will take around 5 to 10 minutes. But if your model is super small, this whole process is just gonna go by like a breeze. Okay, let's just wait for it.
6 months later.
Okay, it's done. Now that your computer has done all the things that it's supposed to do, delete your section plane and here you should see your sliced model. Just take note that once you use Zorro to cut your model, the other half of your model is already automatically deleted by the plugin, so make sure to save your file in another name so that you don't mess up your whole model. Anyways, that was the Zorro program. Moving on to plugin number 2. Plugin number 2 is called Round Corner, and as its name implies, it's used to make rounded corners. So in order to install this plugin, it's the same procedure as plugin number 1. You download it, install it, and then you're good to go. So once you have downloaded the program and installed it, this whole round corner tab will show up in your SketchUp program. Okay, so to demonstrate this plugin, let's make a tiny box. Here we go, let's push that. And then I want to make the edges of this box a little bit roundish, so let's click on top of it. Make sure that you're only selecting corners. Now let's click the first icon in your round corner tab, like so. And then another whole pop-up will come out with a bunch of confusing and scary symbols. Don't mind that, the only important part of that pop-up is the offset and the number of segments. Basically what offset does is it determines how large the radius of your round corner will be. So let's set that to around 20 to 100 millimeters. And as you can see in the model, green lines and red lines will show up. Basically, the green lines is the tangent where the curve of your round corner will meet the edge of your box thingy. And the red line represents your corners. Okay, so segments. This is how many segments your corner will have. So if we choose like 2 segments, and there are 2 segments. Okay, let's click Ctrl Z. Let's make the segments 4 segments. Boom. Let's unsoften this whole box thingy. So there are now 4 segments. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the more segments, the smoother your round corner will be. Also, take note that the more segments you have, the longer it takes to generate that round corner. Moving on to plugin number 3. So this third plugin is called Profile Builder. Basically, Profile Builder is a more advanced and easier follow me tool. So here in Profile Builder, you could see a bunch of profiles like a pipe profile, an apron profile, or maybe a crown molding. This whole program will make your 3D modeling life a little bit easier and super fast. So here's how to use Profile Builder. Click on the Profile Builder tab, and then a new window will come out. So for the purposes of this tutorial, I created a spiral line thingy, which we are going to turn into a pipe. Double click on the line that you want the profile to be following. Okay, so for this profile, I want it to be some sort of pipe. Let's choose round pipe things. Here we go. And then click on build a long path or follow me. Now all we have to do is wait for it to generate the whole pipe. And there we go. Now we have a macaroni pipe thingy. The fourth plugin is called SketchUV or SketchUV. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but I call it SketchUV. SketchUV is a plugin that helps you map out your textures onto a complicated model. For this instance, we have a model of a chair, and if you could look at this part of this chair, the wood doesn't look realistic at all. It's a little choppy and wonky. And also in this part of the chair, the wood should look like this. Instead, it looks a little bit choppy, so when you render that, it's gonna look really fake. Okay, so here's what you do. You click the part of the model that you want the texture to be mapped out properly. So for this instance, let's click this part of the chair. Double click it until it turns blue. Then go to your SketchUV tab. Click on SketchUV mapping tools. And then right click on the model. And then a window will pop up. Here you could see a bunch of things like planar map, spherical map, and cylindrical. Did I just say spherical? I mean spherical map and then cylindrical map. There's box map, tube map, and quad face map. The only three things that I use are the planar map, spherical map, and cylindrical map. So for this model, let's try choosing cylindrical map because this whole part of the model looks a little bit cylindry. Is that a word, cylindry? So I guess that looks fine. It's just the wood looks a little bit stretched. So let's repeat that. Right click on it. Let's click spherical map. Okay, so spherical map looks a little bit better than the cylindrical map, although the texture looks a little bit overscaled. So let's click that again. And let's choose planar map. Alright, okay, so I guess the planar map looks a little bit better than the spherical map and looks a little similar to the cylindrical map, so I guess I'll stick with this. Now let's move on to the leg. So here we could see what the leg should look like. Here's what it looks like right now. Let's double click that. Just repeat the whole process. Let's say cylindrical map. Okay, so I guess the cylindrical map looks pretty fine to me. So I guess we're gonna stick with the cylindrical map. So here you could see the whole wood texture is properly mapped onto your model. So let's click Ctrl Z to see what it looks like before we did that. It looks crappy. Awesome. Crappy. Awesome. Basically, that's what SketchUV does. It's a plugin that helps you map out your texture onto complicated face planes or like model planes. Now let's move on to our last plugin. So the last plugin is called V-Ray Rendering Engines. What are rendering engines? So rendering engines are basically plugins that you use to make your presentation a whole lot realistic than what you would see in your SketchUp model. So if your SketchUp model looks like this, V-Ray will render your whole model into a photorealistic image. Okay, so for this whole plugin, I would be showing you guys an example because my computer is running a little bit hot, so I wouldn't be able to render. Also, I'm a little bit lazy. Also, the first one was a lie. My computer is not running hot. I'm just lazy. So yeah, I'll just show you a bunch of renderings that I did before. I guess that's the video, guys. I've already showed you the top 5. Why am I doing 4? It's 5. I already showed you the top 5 plugins that I love using in conjunction with the SketchUp program. If you like this video, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe down below. Also, please leave some suggestions what type of video you would like us to talk about in the future for future videos, you know, just stuff like that. Just leave it down in the comments below. Anyways, I'll see you guys on my next video. Flying peace!